Hello, welcome to the virtual induction for Homer Green Senior School. We're going to be talking through some of our sixth form science subjects, and in this particular presentation I'm going to go through A Level Biology with you. We're going to have a look at how the biology course is different from combined science GCSE and from triple science at GCSE. We're going to have a look at the course structure in particular. Going to have a little bit of a look at what's sort of expected from you in terms of during the course, what you would have to bring to the course, what we would expect you to do beforehand. And I've also got an example task for you, which is a sort of A-level task to have a look at what it is that you would be expected to do during the course. So obviously there is a large ramp from GCSE to A-level. The course is very, very difficult. There's a lot of content. There's a lot of things that you need to sort of bring together, questions which are very synoptic and cover the entire course, asking you to draw from different areas, and it's very difficult. It's an A-level course. The other thing to point out is that this is a 2-year linear course. What that means is it's not set out in the old way where you would do an AS and then you then continue on to the A-level. There will be internal assessments at the end of the first year, but your final grade is made up entirely from 3 exams that you sit at the end of year 13. So there's not exams in year 12 that contribute towards your final grade. There is, however, a practical endorsement. So this is something that the exam board have put in. You need to do at least 12 required practicals, and I'll give you slightly more detail on this later on in the presentation. But there are at least 12 required practicals that you have to do, you have to write up, and you have to reach certain competencies on. So you have to reach a certain required standard in order to get that practical endorsement, and if you don't reach that, you actually cannot pass the course. So in order to reflect this kind of ramp up of the difficulty, we've got very, very small class sizes, so you'll be working very closely with your teachers, very closely with other people in class, so on a very small basis, which helps out a lot. But we also need something from you, and one of the things that we need around about 5 hours of homework a week. So your teachers will set you a certain amount of tasks. So we've got some examples on here. You could be given some exam question practice, some essay practice. The essays might be on something that you've just done, or they might be synoptic and cover a few topics. You will have some end of topic tests to do and possibly feedback and improvements on them. And you'll have your required practical write-ups and again feedback and improvement on them. So if your teacher sets you 2 hours of this homework to be done a week, you obviously still have a remaining 3 hours, and we would expect you to spend that on independent study, which is something I will talk about in. So as we've already mentioned, the course is assessed through 3 exams. So going through each paper helps explain the way that the course is actually set out. So paper 1 covers biological molecules, cells, exchange of substances, variation relationships. Those are the first 4 units of the course and is what we would normally cover in year 12. It's the exam that you would do is worth 35%. It's a 2-hour long exam. It's got 76 marks of long and short answer, and it's got 15 marks which are extended response. You'll notice here that I've also highlighted the required practical activities which would come under that particular exam paper. So you could be asked about any of these required practicals and additional practicals as well, but these particular ones are ones that you should sort of know very, very well that you could have been asked about. Paper 2 then covers the year 13 content, energy transfers, response to the environment, population genetics, and control of gene expression, and again is worth 35%. It's a 91 mark 2-hour long exam, and it's set out in exactly the same way. The required practicals are different, obviously the content is different, but this essentially breaks down into paper 1, which is based on your year 12 work, and paper 2 based on your year 13 work. Paper 3 then is different, so it's all contents from units 1 to 8 and practical skills as well. It is a 78 mark 2-hour exam. You have 38 marks of sort of structured questions, so questions in the way that you would normally expect questions that you've been used to. It would include quite a lot of practical skills there. And it's also then got 15 marks of critical analysis of supplied data. So they would give you some data in some sort of particular format, and you would spend time going through that. So they may give you raw data, they may give you a graph, give you something like that, and you would have to analyze and come to conclusions based on that. There is then a 25 mark essay. Right, these essays are very synoptic, so the idea is they would have a particularly broad question. So it could do something like those questions in the past have been something about give the importance of ions in biology, and you'd be expected to go through every possible thing that you've done in the course about ions and bring that all together and link it all together. So the idea is you need to bring in stuff from at least 5 topics, any extra reading that you've done, and the whole point is that you're able to make links here. In paper 1, 2 and 3 there are also statistical analysis elements, so something that you'd be asked to do, some sort of math skills you'd ask to be applied to biology. And this is something that we teach you during the course. You'll practice it a lot, and it does come up in all 3 papers, but it comes up in this one in particular. So they're starting off with simple things. You could be asked to calculate mean, median and mode, percentage increase, but then it moves up to some quite difficult things like the chi-squared test, Spearman's rank, student's t-test and Simpson's index. So these are all things that will be taught during the course, but there is a stats element to this course, which is something that needs to be covered. Your A-level required practicals are a large part of the course. It's really, really, really important, as I've already mentioned, that we get this practical endorsement. The course cannot be passed without that element. So rather than just carrying out practicals like you used to do at GCSE, the A-level ones require a certain element of pre-planning. So you'll start quite similar to GCSE, where we give you sort of example things for you to just follow a method, but by the end of the course you'll actually be planning your own practicals, choosing your own equipment, explaining why you've done it in this way and all those things. The whole point is that you need to reach a certain level of competency. So the exam board, and actually all of the exam boards together, have identified 5 key areas that you need to be able to do. And what I've done here is I've taken just number 2, so competency number 2, and I've given you an example of what it is that you'd be expected to do. So if you look here, we've got 2A, B, C and D. So D, for example, 2D says select appropriate equipment and measurement strategies in order to ensure suitably accurate results. Each time you do a practical, if we are assessing this particular competency, we would look at, have you done all of these things? Have you reached this particular level? And we would then either say yes or say no. If we say no, we will tell you why. And when the next time you do a practical, you have the chance to improve. So there are a minimum of these 12 required practical tasks. We write them up in a lab book. Occasionally we put other things in there as well. There might be another practical that we want to put in which we feel demonstrates your ability to do a particular competency, or if we've done all 12 and you're still missing a particular competency, we can add more practicals in, and we can keep doing this over and over until we reach the level that we're supposed to be at. So the idea here is that you need to demonstrate these competencies, so it's important that we assess your work. So each time you do one of these practicals, you'll hand it in, we will mark it for you, and we'll give you feedback on how to improve. Your independent study, you're expected to have a folder which kind of records what you've been doing. It is up to you exactly what you do for your independent study, but some of the tasks that you could do is you could consolidate your notes from class. So you could take the time to kind of take your stream of thought that you've had in class and put it in a more easily accessible format. There's, in the textbook, there are some questions which we don't use in class, so they're something that you can use, and we do actually have the answers to them available in school. We've got learning grids, which is what's shown here. It's just an example of questions and answers that you can fill in. We can check them for you, you can check them yourselves. And of course there's online revision. So the independent study, it's entirely up to you what you do, but you need to be evidencing that you've done this, because there's no real way that you can get through this course without also putting effort in yourself. You have to show that you understand this, you have to have a go at doing it, really. What we have here is an example of what you can expect from the A-level biology course. So this is a past exam question. They call these comprehension questions, and what you'll see on the left-hand side is there is a block of text, a lot of information for you to read through, and on the right-hand side there are some questions based on that text. What I would like you to do here is to use your current knowledge, and this doesn't require a huge amount of sort of A-level knowledge. A lot of what you've done at GCSE should be able to get you through this question, but your own knowledge and what's written in the passage to answer these questions. What I'd like you to do is take about 10 minutes or so of your time to try and answer these questions, and the next slide will have the answers on it. So good luck. During the course, we've got certain expectations. We also have expectations for you actually joining the course. The initial thing that we would need you to do is to complete the transition booklet. So all of these are available. They're actually released by the AQA, so they're available on the AQA website. If you go to AQA A Level Biology, they're on there. However, we also have them on the school website. If you go to the sixth form area, you go to information for students and transition guides, it's available there. We would also expect you to buy the textbook for the course. It's literally titled AQA Biology A Level. It's by Tool and Tool. It's available on Amazon. It's available Waterstones, Blackwells, anywhere you want to have. Can normally buy textbooks. It's available there. So that is something that you would need in order to be able to do the course. You also might want the following books. These are all CGP books. The first one, Head Start to A-Level Biology, is something else that you might want to start before you start the course. And it is essential if you have not done triple science that you complete this booklet. We would expect to see this booklet completed if you haven't done triple. If you have done triple science, it's a good reminder. It goes through some of the things that you've done, which will be coming up in the course, and it's very, very useful. The other ones, the Essential A-Level Maths and the Revision and Practice book and the Exam Practice workbook, they're not essential. People do find them very, very useful though, and it's something that you could use as part of your independent study. A final few things then, usual things that we would expect in September. It would be very good if you could come along with a folder that you can have your notes, your workbooks, your homework can all go in there. A large folder at home is also useful, so you can file your completed work and you can have your independent study in there, which obviously you can bring in. We can check occasionally. You need your usual pen, pencil, rubber, ruler, scientific calculator, and your completed transition booklet. If you turn up with all this, then you'll be ready to learn and you'll be ready to go through the course. So I hope this has been informative. If you've got any questions at all, please don't hesitate to get in contact with the school. But thank you very much for your time.